Hello everyone. Before we start to talk about our report, there are limitations and challenges in our report. First is we are asked to keep the name of the temple as confidential. Second is the language. The master we met spoke only Chinese. Therefore, there was a communication barrier for our two members. For our report, we analyzed a non-profit organization run by an association. The association is international in scope with over 170 chapters and 1,000 sub-chapters. There are more than 1 million members. The Montreal chapter is run by 3 masters. 2 of the masters always present on the premises and live in the house attached to the temple. The senior master is always traveling between the sub-chapters in Canada and abroad. She is responsible for important issues in the temple. Senior volunteers are full-time members who are responsible for day-to-day operation of the temple. 4 of the senior members are paid for part-time services such as teaching, managing the tea room, and handling administrative duties. There are about 200 regular volunteers who pay annual fees. Regular volunteers are there to support senior volunteers. There are 4 main activities in the temple: religious ceremony, tea room, adult education center, Chinese language school for kids. Now, my partner will talk about more detail about the risk.
Following our visit of the temple, we've created a risk register where we identified potential risks the organization could be exposed to. Although the risk register is more comprehensive, we are limiting our discussion only to the most important risks we have identified. Given the nature of our organization and the use of physical premises, we found it's natural to have the most number of risk exposures at the pure risk level. We have identified 5 medium rating risks, which are theft, sewer backup, food poisoning, fire, and water damage. Of these, we found the fire risk is inadequately addressed by existing mitigations. The most notable fire hazard in our case is the existence of a restaurant in the building. Presently, the temple has some existing mitigations such as fire extinguishers, fire smoke alarms, visible signs of exits, and emergency fire staircase. However, to improve existing mitigations, we would suggest that in the short term, master and senior volunteers create a training manual to conduct annual fire drills. The fire extinguishers are also in urgent need of inspection by professionals, as we have noticed it has been a year that they were not inspected. In the longer term, we also suggest the temple evaluates the option of adding a sprinkler system into the building. The existence of a restaurant creates another layer of potential risks, food poisoning. We were made aware that there is only one chef in the kitchen, and the only current risk mitigation is against pest infestations, which is a biannual exterminator's inspection. We believe there can be a significant improvement in this area. Creating a training manual with standards and procedures for food compliance should help reduce those risks. It is important to educate volunteers on proper food handling techniques and make sure there are proper resources available to ensure safe and clean work conditions. As for other medium rating risk exposures, theft, sewer backup, and water damage, we believe the temple already has adequate mitigations in place. Rajiv will go over operational and strategic quadrants.
Right, so an operational risk we identified was lack of volunteers. During our interview with the master, it was very clear that the age of the average volunteer is 60 years old, and there were a lack of interest among the children of the members. So this is really important because if there's a drop in membership, that means there will be less donations, and there will also be less services offered in the near future. Now, one of the main issues we have there is that there are no current mitigations in place, but what we recommend is the following. First off, we recommend that it's really important to start a contingency plan when the number of volunteers actually drops. So for example, if a volunteer doesn't show up for work, what we recommend is that there is somebody else who can take over that person's task for that day or for that time period when the person is away. Number 2, we also recommend that they promote the association and temple using social media. So a good idea here would be to have a Facebook account, or maybe also to have information on the internet so people can actually find them. This is a good tool to help get new members and also to make sure that members are engaged with the community by having Facebook messages shared with the community at large. Finally, we also recommend that the association create programs for youth. And this could be examples of like camps, specific programs just for the kids. It could be just also crafts day, anything to get the kids interested specifically into the activities of the temple itself. Now, we're going to change from operational, we're going to talk specifically about strategic risk. And in terms of strategic risk, the one that really stands out for us, it was the negative media coverage. Now, when we had our interview, it was very clear that the master was very guarded with the information, and that's because in the past they had issues with, I guess, a misunderstanding with the community at large. And so this mistrust created a little bit of friction, and it also had impact on the community and on the temple itself. So what we recommend, again, because there are no current mitigations in place, what we recommend is that any master who comes to the temple, they should at least start to enroll in the courses within the local community. So in this case, it would be a good idea to take French courses that are offered by the government. They're available for free. And if the master can't take a course, what we recommend is to at least get a tutor so that you can communicate with the local population. This should clear up any misunderstandings that take place. Now finally, we also recommend that the senior volunteers and the masters create something called a code of conduct that all members have to adhere to. And this is really important because then all members will know exactly what behaviors are acceptable and what's expected of them when they join the association. So those are basically the two risks that I wanted to talk about. Charles is going to talk a little bit more about the financial risks.
We have identified two important risks that the temple could potentially be facing. One is currency fluctuation. The other is poor handling of cash donation. We have attributed high rating for these two financial risks. For the currency fluctuation, after discussion with Master, we were aware that a significant amount of donations are from outside Canada. Additionally, the main temple may provide financial help to the smaller temple around the world for expansion project or other extraordinary event, as the main financial help is from another currency. So, when the exchange rate is unfavorable, this may create a significant risk of loss of purchasing power to the receiving temple. Currently, there are no existing mitigation for this risk event. We would suggest the association to consider diversifying its revenue stream, like increasing donation locally, get financial help from government or other charities, the use of financial instrument, making cash provision, or seeking financial help. For the second important risk is poor handling of cash donation. Currently, it is quite easy to access the donation boxes. This can increase the risk of robbery or theft. Unfortunately, we didn't identify any existing mitigations. We strongly suggest the master establish a clear policy of handling of cash. Thank you for your patience.